Hey folks, Andy here for another James Herbert retrospective review. Again, I'm sort of in the shadows, sitting down feeling really ill, recording this at the same time as the last video, and I might even try another one because I want to try and get some of these out. And you don't watch these videos to see my ugly face, you watch the videos hopefully to learn about the books. So, wasting no more time, at number 5 in this absolute debacle, I've got one that often I think is massively underrated, and whenever I've seen a list of Herbert's best books, this book often misses lists. Not because it's not a good book, because I think it's fantastic, but it's more that I think people forget it exists. And the reason I think they forget it exists is because it falls between so many other great books, and there's a lot of less fanfare about this one. I'm talking about his 1983 novel, Shrine. Now, Shrine was the first Whopper by James Herbert. This is a big book. It weighs in at well over 500, close to 600 pages, at least on mass market paperback, the trade editions. I know there's a discrepancy in terms of size of books because Kindle books, paperback books, initial prints, reprints, hardbacks, excuse me, they all seem to be different sizes. The word count's the size same, the book's the same size, but the actual physical dimensions are often different depending on paper size, page size, thickness, typeset, etc. But if you get the current mass market paperback, which is still the same one now, thankfully still with a decent ish green cover rather than these absolutely awful black and white covers that they seem to be banging out and sticking on his books now. I don't know why. It's like they're ashamed of horror or something. The publishers. Um, then it's a big book. It's his first really massive book. In the same way that when Richard Lehman, I mentioned, did the Funhouse, which was his first 500-page book. I mean, this is Herbert's first well over 500-page book. It's a big book, and it tells the story of a little girl called Alice, who it seems is blessed with divine powers of curing, and then people want to receive blessings and things from her, and things start to go very, very weird and dark. Now, there is a movie adaptation of this that came out relatively recently. It's got Jeffrey Dean Morgan in. It's called The Unholy. It came out a couple of years ago. I think it's still available on either Amazon or Netflix. It's one of those streaming sites that plays this, and it's a very condensed. They've taken an almost 600-page book and put it down into like an hour and a half. So they've missed out a lot of stuff, but they've got the bare bones of it, and it's not far off the story, which is it's a decent representation. But the book itself is so much more nuanced. It's got so much more stuff that I really do think the book's a vastly superior thing. But then you'd need a 6-hour film to do it justice. But yeah, it's one of those bizarre sort of supernatural stories that goes a bit off into a tangent about belief and religion and has an ending that many will say is controversial. I'm not going to give it away, but you will either like or dislike the ending. But even if you dislike the ending, the previous 500 odd pages are, I think, so tense and so exciting and so well written, and remind me of other great, horror stories about kids. The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. Are great stories that ultimately involve either and the Omen. They're either about children or infants, and there's something very very creepy about it. And I think Herbert does really really well here. That sort of creepiness and that vibe. Um, and I personally like the ending. The only thing about this book, and I'm just trying to look for nitpick flaws with these reviews. The only thing about this book that I'm not a fan of is the fact that I think this was the first book that Herbert started this really strange trend of putting asterisks at the bottom of pages to continue sentences that he's already um, had. So he'll have a sentence, then there'll be an asterisk, and then you carry on reading, but at the bottom of the page there'll be a footnote with an asterisk that says a bit more detail about what he's talked about. He doesn't do it a lot in this book. This was something that he would do later in a few books, and in particular with Nobody True, it absolutely drove me up the wall because it was so frequent and it was so jarring. Whereas here, it's not massively jarring because it kind of it's towards the end of paragraphs, so you can read it and then go out and then go back into the story rather than slap bang in the middle of a sentence or a conversation, which Nobody True had, which was just really odd. But it's just a weird folly of Herbert's. I don't know why he did it. Why he didn't just extend the sentence. Maybe he didn't want to overwrite. And I've mentioned the overwriting thing already, but yeah, it seems strange. Or maybe it was after proofreading stuff. Maybe he'd finished the stories and decided to add something in. But why not just add it in after that sentence? I don't know. But irrespective of that, I think Shrine is a genuinely fantastic, creepy story about belief, about religion, about obsession, and about evil. It's not the most original story, but it's a really great one. If you haven't read Shrine, I absolutely recommend you do. It's one that, like I say, goes over most people's heads. They don't really talk about it. Um, I don't know why, because I think once you've read it, you remember it, and I think it's just a genuinely great book.